And now, in an interview you'll only see here on KDKA, we're learning more about steps being taken to improve railroad safety.
KDKA's Lauren Linder is the one who spoke with U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, and she's here now. Lauren.
Ken and Kim, Secretary Pete Buttigieg tells me this afternoon he learned all 7 major freight railroads have agreed to participate in a confidential close call reporting system that would protect whistleblowers who point out safety issues. This includes Norfolk Southern. It comes one day before the deadline the secretary set earlier this week for the companies to sign up. He first called on them to join the program on February 20th and followed up this past Monday. To give you a little more information, this system encourages workers on the railroad to report safety hazards like conditions that could lead to a derailment by protecting them from retaliation when they come forward. The secretary tells me he's still waiting to hear from the companies individually and get the paperwork signed. It comes on the heels of legislation proposed just yesterday by Pennsylvania and Ohio senators that could help to prevent what happens in East Palestine in the future.
This is a moment when we can get more done than would have been thought possible before in terms of having the highest standards of accountability and safety for the sake of communities and, of course, for workers whose lives depend on the safety of our railroad systems.
Now, the secretary has high hopes that this bipartisan bill will get passed. Now he's on a track to make change in one of the most powerful industries in the country.
They just want good facts, good information, and they want to make sure that there will be accountability and that they will be safe.
Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg reflects on his visit to East Palestine. Just 1 week ago, he traveled to the site of the toxic train derailment near the Ohio-Pennsylvania border and left with a few takeaways. The
experience of walking among these twisted, burned tank cars and the importance of rail safety regulation.
The latter is what he's focused on.
We're making sure we're doing everything with the tools we have, but also calling on the railroads to do better and calling on Congress to do more.
These 3 parts make up his rail safety plan announced early last week. One aspect called on railroad companies to join a confidential close call reporting system that encourages workers to report safety hazards by protecting them from retaliation when they come forward. When the secretary didn't hear back, he followed up with this letter on Monday, giving the companies an end-of-week deadline. In the final hours Thursday afternoon, he learned all 7 major freight railroads, including Norfolk Southern, agreed to participate.
I'm waiting to hear from them individually, and we got to do the paperwork to get them signed up.
It comes on the heels of 2 other updates. The Federal Railroad Administration shared plans to prioritize inspections of routes where hazardous materials are carried. And Pennsylvania and Ohio senators just proposed new legislation to enhance safety protocols.
I also think this is a moment when we can get more done than would have been thought possible before in terms of having the highest standards of accountability and safety for the sake of communities and, of course, for workers whose lives depend on the safety of our railroad systems.
Among the improvements, railroad companies would be required to notify states ahead of time if cars are transporting hazardous materials, and to have at least 2-person crews on every train. It also would establish standards for hotbox detectors, which currently aren't regulated by the Federal Railroad Administration.
We're working to make sure that everyone understands the urgency of getting this done and moving quickly.
His response to the February 3rd crash hasn't come without controversy.
I think it's probably safe to say this is the most cabinet-level presence there's ever been on a modern derailment site. And I think that reflects how seriously this administration takes this situation.
Now he hopes to move forward, make it right for those impacted by the derailment, and do what he can to prevent it from happening in the future.
Now's an opportunity to support real change, and we're going to keep driving it with every tool that we have here at the department.